Hey guys, welcome back to Content is Profit. I am so grateful for you to be listening to this show. And if you haven't checked it out yet, just go to businesscreator.club. We're starting to build an incredible community of business creator, people that own businesses and they want to connect with other business owners that are also creating content online. So we kicked this off a few weeks ago with a 17-day challenge inside of our Facebook group. And then people have been coming on where we're starting to bring a lot of resources that you need. It will be an honor for you to, if you come to the community and check it out and let us know what is the feedback, because we're building this with you. Yesterday, I was actually dropping off my kid from school, and this person that I admire gives me a call. This person is my fitness coach from college. This guy, kept us fit for a couple of years while we were playing D1 soccer. And shout out to Wes if you're listening. And he's been out of my life now for a few years, and we reconnected for a different project for the football show and Break FC and that side of the business that we're doing. And we were able to hang out for a bit. And, it turns out that he wants to, be dependent on his own, right? He wants to create his own reality. He wants to build his own business. He wants to provide his own resources. And he does have the knowledge, all this stuff, right? So he came out, we talked about like a year ago or so. And now when we reconnected, all this came back up. So we chatted a little bit. I recommended a couple of books. I obviously recommended The Community, which you'll probably see him in there. And, we had dinner and everybody went home. Now, when he calls, he's like, dude, I have this fire in me. Like, I want to do this, but I don't know logistically, like, where do I start? It can seem so overwhelming at times, right? He's very overwhelming. Not only the content, but like, what do I sell? Like, how do I sell it? Like, who's my ideal customer? Let alone, if we don't have a product, like, how do we create that product, right? So we started chatting, and I share a little bit of like the minimal viable content framework and the 6 levers that we can start doing this. And he's like, Luis, like, I just need, like, I am no savvy with technology. Like, I have my phone for phone calls. That's basically it. And I feel a lot of people that get into the business and content side might not have an understanding of what's coming, and not only the personal development as a creator, but also everything that comes on the back end as a business, right? If you already own a business, you know that, and now the pressure is of becoming a creator and start creating content that way. So for him, I think it's both, but we're trying to identify what is the low friction point, like how can we get started? And for him, is about to share his message, right? Initially, is to share the message. People want to connect to work with him, and we started like putting apart the processes and the things that he needs to be in place to be frequent and consistent, right? Like we talk about that all the time, those 2 things. And this is going to be a little bit of a rant / session maybe, but hopefully it will help move the needle forward if you've been stuck for a long time, because it's exactly what happened to us. So number 1 is, let's assume you know your topics, right? Or you've researched, you know exactly what you want to talk about. So we have a list of topics. In his case, everything was in his head jumbled up. So step number 1 is grab a notebook and start putting all those ideas of topics, of all the things that you want to start talking about that are in your head, put them in a piece of paper, right? That's number 1. Don't develop the whole thing. Just put headlines or different topics that you want to put in there. Number 2 is identifying your friction point, like what's not allowing you to create content, right? For him was maybe lack of knowledge on how to record properly and put it up on social media, lack of knowledge what social media to put it on. There's all these things, right, that might affect you. So you have to start listing up these friction points. For me, for example, was editing, right? I didn't want to edit. For a lot of people, it's like, I don't have the right equipment, which we'll debunk in just a second, right? So start listing what are those things that you believe are, keeping you from publishing. It could be, I work too much, and when I get home, my kids are there and I don't have the time to do it, right? Like, I don't know what to say. I don't have the right equipment. I don't know how to edit. I don't know where to put it up, right? I don't know how to connect it to my business. Like, what are those things? And start identifying those friction points. Now, step number 3 will be, now that we have the friction points, Now we have to understand like what are the resources that we have in hand. If you're listening to this, you probably have a smartphone that is really good and fit to record really quality video, and the audio is not bad. So you can just get started with your phone. So let's assume we're going to start with our phone. Now, the other resources that we have will be time, right? Like we need to find a time frame to do this. And this goes back to our publishing pyramid. At the top, we need to identify like what are the resources, that we have, what's the capacity of those resources. So if you have time, how much time do you have? 1 hour a week, 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week, or so on, right? In a specific case with Wes, he didn't have a lot of time. So we accounted for maybe an hour a day because he wants to be frequent every single day. And when you're starting, all you want to do is trying to get the reps in, right? The algorithm, if your content is not good, it's probably not going to show it to a lot of people, right? So what a perfect scenario for you to continue to practice and put content out there very frequently. As we get better, as we start learning with the content, as we start, implementing, as we start, hiring people, as we start doing these things, your content will get better. And then it's going to start showing to and surfacing in the interwebs, right? So in what specific case, we decided that he was going to do a daily video. We took inventory of his specific platforms. In his case, he had an Instagram account, right? He didn't know he has Facebook, but friends and family didn't want to do that. He didn't have a YouTube channel, so we decided not to open the YouTube channel, right? He's heard about podcasting. We said podcasting is a whole different monster for now. And we decided to go with a framework called 45 Live. You probably heard of it if we've talked about it. It's go for 45 days straight recording a video. In our case, it was live on Facebook. In your case, you could just record it and then upload it into the platform. Now, my advice, if you're doing this for the first time, is go do it live because it's a one take. You're not losing time. You do it very, very quickly and you put the content out there and you get feedback very fast. So here's what we started brainstorming with Wes. All his ideas, he had a ton of ideas that he put in the notebook. And then we're like, look, what are the top questions that your customers are asking you when you work with them, right? As a personal trainer, as a dietitian, what are those questions? Write them down. What are the problems that you see them experience every single day in your day-to-day at work? Or when you talk to them on the Zoom call, when you do the consults, or in person when you do the live consults, right? So we wrote all those down. That list was more than 45 different things. Now, each one of those, each problem now is a thing that you can solve and you can share with the camera, and that becomes your daily video, right? It's like, how long do I talk about this stuff? And I'm like, as long as you need to solve that problem, right? Now, I recommend start short. And start short with a very simple framework, which is a hook story offer, right? If you've been in internet marketing for a while, you probably have heard of these terms. Hook is, something that kind of grabs your attention. There's different ways to do the hooks. If you're editing video, there's visual hooks. If you're talking like this, it will be a phrase that you say that grabs people's attention. Then you share a story about that hook, about the situation that you're about to teach. And then at the end, you connect people with your business. So the example that we did was my specific case, right? When I started talking to him, I'm like, Wes, I feel like I'm your dream customer, right? Like I am a few pounds overweight. I used to be in my prime a long time ago. I don't know what to eat because I eat everything, right? And I used to eat everything and stay fit because of the amount of activity that I was doing, but I don't do that anymore. I'm a dad. I have the company. I should be putting myself as a priority, and I'm starting to. But here we are, right? And yesterday we were, having a beer together, and he's like, dude, I know the answer to that, right? The answer to that is stop drinking beer, right? And I'm like, dude, we just had a beer yesterday, right? So it's like, okay, perfect story. Here's, so we started brainstorming the hooks, and a good formula to get started with the hooks is like how to do X, right? How to do the result without the pain. How to do X without the pain. To be like how to lose weight without lifting weights, for example, right? Lifting weights might be something that adds friction to that specific customer and so on. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to, I don't want to lift weight. I want to know. And obviously the answer to that is stop drinking beer. That's one of the elements, right? So start losing weight without lifting weights. The answer is stop drinking beer. Now we need to find the story that fits in the middle. So the story that I decided to share was my story, which is, hey, a long time ago I had this guy used to play soccer, was, top shape, 9% body fat, awesome, amazing dude, right? I'm building myself up here. And, we trained, we did these exercises. And then years later, we reconnected and we had a beer. And then he confessed to me that, he wants to lose some weight. And we're like, what are we doing here? Why are we having this beer? We should be drinking, water or something else. And that's when, I remember that one of the secrets to lose weight is to stop drinking beer. And here's why. Bam, bam, bam. Here's why. By the way, if you don't know who I am, I'm a dietitian. I am a, physical trainer, and I'm happy to help you. Just send me a DM. There you go. That's your script, right? Hook, story, and offer. And under that framework, I saw, we were on the phone, I heard his eyes light up. That's how crazy it was. He was like, oh my gosh, this is massive clarity, right? So he did inventory of his resources, a phone, right? He did inventory of his resources, time, about an hour a day. Also children that can help him with social media if needed, right? He decided he knew exactly what he wanted to say with all the questions that he gets asked every single day, all the problems that his customers are experiencing it. And then now we brought clarity with a format that he can replicate day after day to put in the reps, And he even told me, dude, I think I can do 2 of these a day, right? Which is super exciting. I can do 2 of these a day. And obviously in his case, he's going to keep them very short videos, initially vertical format, so he can put them on Instagram, which is the only platform that he's in. And then he's going to start receiving feedback and he's going to gain momentum. And might be some people that reach out, there might be some people that don't. Like, this is the point. The content is a hypothesis that you put out to the world, and then you get feedback back and you can get better every time. But if we don't put it, it's really hard. So how do we get unstuck from not publishing is we need to start taking steps to do that. Now, with time, that's going to change, right? Your format of content is going to change. It's going to evolve. Maybe you don't enjoy doing videos too much. Maybe you enjoy writing. Perfect. Our starting point will be writing. Then from that writing, maybe you do voiceless channels, right? Maybe you go to YouTube. Maybe you record a podcast without a video. Like, there's many, many formats to figure out based on what you enjoy doing once, right? We had maybe I'll do an episode about this later, but we had a question in our network in Hotspot about, like, how do we manage the creation process? Like, how do we move things forward? And it's all about combining a couple of things for me. It's like, what is the content that you enjoy doing, right? Number one, for me, I enjoy this. I enjoy being on camera. I enjoy talking to you. And then removing friction from that process. That will look very different to everybody. There's no secret formula except frequency and consistency. The more consistent you are and the more frequent you are, the more frequent you show up on people feed, even better. Now, once you achieve that baseline type of content, which for us is the podcast twice a week and about 8 clips a week, that is, we're present daily, then we can experiment with new things. For us, here's the things that we're doing right now. If you're listening to this, started about a couple weeks ago. Now we're putting a vlog, a weekly vlog that we're doing about things that we've been doing here at BizBros, in the studio, in conferences or events that we go to. Then we do the trailers. And now we're doing also short form. Whenever I have something to say, I just jump on my phone and do something like really quick with, a templatized app that we have. And then you start experimenting, see what, the results are. So hopefully this gave you a roadmap on start identifying, what are your friction points, how to remove them, how to pick your initial topics, and then how to execute on a daily video that can get you a ton of traction. With that said, enjoy the rest of the week, and I'll see you on the next episode. Take care.